Good morning from Seattle, Washington. Welcome to Coffee and Cosmos with Robin. My name is Robin Fritz, and today I'd like to talk about bearing witness from Notre Dame to nature, to celebrating Nature Day, Earth Day here in the United States, and to talk a little bit about how we deal with the changes in our society and in the planet over a course of time. We're going to do meditation with Fallon and the crystal of the week. And I invite you to chime in with any questions or comments you have, including requests for quick intuitive readings. So again, thank you for joining me today. My name is Robin Fritz. I'm an intuitive and spiritual consultant and a certified past life regression specialist. Big long words, but essentially I offer intuitive and spiritual services and past life regression. But today I want to talk about bearing witness from the tragedy last week of Notre Dame Cathedral to events that demonstrate our inability to live together peacefully, and to the changes in history, and to talk about what that means for us, and for you to share what these kinds of events mean to you, because this is your community. So as we get started, let's do a quick grounding and balancing exercise with Fallon. Fallon is a citrine Lemurian quartz. If you've joined me before, you know he's very powerful, ancient power crystal, and here to help with healing and connection. So connect with him however your intuition works most strongly. And as you focus on the crystal, citrine Lemurian quartz, take your attention to the top of your head and imagine mind, body, and spirit coming together. And so as you breathe down from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, just release the cares of the day and join here today with us as a community. So breathing down from the top of your head, down your face, your shoulders, your chest, your hips, your knees, and your feet. The top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And then as you reverse that, breathing up, just fill yourself with healthy energy from Fallon. Breathing up from your feet, past your knees, your hips, your chest, your shoulders, your face, and the top of your head. Just feel that connection. A lot of people experience it as a gold light. Imagine, especially for today's topic, that gold light going straight to your heart, and with each beat of your heart, flooding your body with healthy energy. He's also very heavy. So as much as I love him, I can't walk around holding him that much. So, hi, Julia, thank you from Kodiak Island. Yes, it is Earth Day here. So today's topic is right on point, right? I wanted to talk about a couple of things, and it all comes down to one thing, and the role of humans in the world to bear witness to the changes that we see around us. And last week, as I finished my Facebook Live, I discovered that Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris was on fire. And one of my jobs on the planet is to help people come together in harmony with the planet, because I can hear other beings talking with us and trying to connect with us. So that day, the focus of my radio show was a spontaneous conversation about what changes on the planet can mean to us, and what this particular change meant for the being that is and was Notre Dame Cathedral. So here's what I've learned, throughout my time of working with the planet. And please chime in and say hello here. Julia, if you have a question, please type it in. Some days I'm better at scrolling through this than others. I'd like to blame it on my computer, but usually it's me not scrolling through properly. So Do raise your questions. I'd be happy to take a couple of quick questions from you. So I know last week the burning of Notre Dame Cathedral affected many people. I wasn't the only one. I have been there on trips to Europe. And really, for a lot of us, this was an example of the potential loss of a monument through history that connects us to our ancestors. And while some of us may not have direct ancestry to Europe, we do have an ancestry that connects us to all life on the planet. And our role as humans connects us together, regardless of where we live on the planet. So as I went in to talk to Notre Dame, of course, the soul that was there was concerned about what was going on, and it had its own thing going on. And, there's a point at which we don't step in and interfere with the process of a soul and a body deciding its destiny, so to speak. But one of the things that I noticed over time, and especially in my conversation with the cathedral, we all know that the ancient monuments that have been built around the world, from cathedrals to communal centers to walls to the Roman Colosseums to the pyramids, all of those have been in some ways reflections of our time on the planet and how we view the world. And this particular connection was a way for us over a period of centuries of connecting to the divine. And in a sense, our role as humans is connecting to the divine in whatever way that it appears to us. So some years ago, and I explained this on my radio show last week, and you can find it at ohmtimes.com radio, the Practical Intuitive, the April 15th show, was that one of the things that we have kind of lost over the years is our responsibility, if you were, or just our natural inclination to witness change. And I first became aware of that some years ago when I was interested in a waterway that flowed here into Puget Sound in the Seattle, Washington area, how polluted it was. And as I started communicating with the being that was the river, it told me it had been cut off from its source. So over a period of going to different places in the region that were part of that waterway, what I learned was that there was an ancient flood that flowed down from the source of this river, which is high in Mount Rainier, which is the tallest volcano here in the West Coast of the United States. And as this flood event occurred, it changed the course of the river as it flowed down from Mount Rainier and into various bodies of water here in the area where I lived. And what the being of this river system told me was that in ancient times, humans would come and we'd gather in these places after a big natural event had occurred. And we witnessed. We just stood there and we witnessed, and we celebrated life and the change of life. And so we would go to the place where the river had changed. We would acknowledge that change. We would acknowledge the death that had occurred there, the animals and the trees and whatever that had died in the course of that. We would honor the new way that the river was flowing. And in that sense, we acknowledge the passage of time and how things live and die, and the cycle goes around and repeats itself. So in many ways, that's a comforting way to think about being on the planet as witnessing change. And the change that occurs in the situation where an old monument is burned by fire, or where things crumble because of an earthquake. those are all opportunities for us to come together as a community and say, oh, this is what it was before, this is what it was now, and we offer peace and love to the transition process. And I know in some ways that may sound very like intellectual, but it's an important part for us. We humans have always wondered and worried what came next. We sat in the dark in ancient times, and we knew the big, huge predators were just beyond the light of the fire. And we wondered where we fit into the cosmos. And our role here is like all other life. We come together, we celebrate, we witness birth and death and transitions, and we grow from that. And so, what I wanted to talk to you about today was just as things happen, and in the course of the last week, we've seen humans hurting other humans on a massive scale with events in Sri Lanka yesterday. Just, why do we do things like that to each other? And some things we don't have answers for. But the one thing we do have answers for is that we always love, that we always bring back to our hearts and souls the idea that we continue to grow in love and we continue to grow in connection, and that we continue to come together in community to acknowledge the change, whether the change has hurt us in terms of our sorrow at an ending, whether it allows us to bring in the new. So what I would like to say is, in the course of my brief work with Notre Cathedral last week, the soul that was in that building for almost 900 years has now gone on to the afterlife. And so it will be very interesting to see what happens in our lifetime and in the lifetime of our descendants as they rebuild this cathedral. What new soul will come in there and what its role will be in the world to help us again connect more deeply to each other and more deeply to the divine, and however you translate that. Whatever religious or spiritual ideas that we hold, how do we acknowledge change in the world, and how do we allow that to deepen our sense of love for the world around us? And today is Earth Day in the United States. It's an artificial date. It's a time, like all celebration times, that we come together here as a country in the United States to honor our planet, to do something that supports the planet around us. And I think it's a great thing that we can carry across all of the different places that we meet together. I mean, here at Humanity Healing, we can connect to each other all over the world. And so today we can say, here is a day, it's springtime, it's the beginning of the growth season here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's a beginning of a different season wherever you are. And it's an opportunity to stop and reflect. How do we connect with each other, and why do we connect, and where can love inform us through the changes that we see, the changes that we would like, and how life continues. So let me see if I can scroll through here and see if there are questions. Yes, Irene, other beings are trying to connect with us, and one of the things that we do in that is acknowledge that sometimes we humans feel very alone, even from each other, and this connection to other beings really informs us that we're not the only ones that are thinking and doing things on the planet. And we've lost a lot over the centuries, the last few centuries, in our ability to connect with non-humans and to learn from them. So thank you for chiming in on that, Irene. And Julia, your guides mentioned mold in your house. Said that there was a major mold unit, and Um, okay, so you say you feel like there's mold in the house, and the specialist said that there isn't. Um, I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous show, but one of my unpleasant abilities is my ability to smell mold, to know where mold is, which makes me sometimes unpopular with real estate agents, or popular depending on the circumstance. Um, I would say that if you feel that there's mold somewhere, that you're correct, and I would investigate that, and close your eyes and just block out the environment around you and ask the mold where it is. Ask it to direct you to it so you can find it. Maybe it's up on the outside of the building in some strange place where they weren't looking for it before. But if you're feeling that, I wouldn't let somebody saying that it doesn't exist distract you, because they might have missed it. And you'd have to ask, were they washing the walls and then they were just looking for it, or were they opening up places in the walls to actually see mold behind the walls? So trust your instincts and dig deeper. So good morning to all of you. Ahmed, yes, thank you for um, chiming in on that. The fire at Notre Dame hit me very hard, and I know it hit a lot of other people very hard. And I asked myself about that because I was born and raised Catholic, and I've been non-religious for many more years than I was part of a religious community. But I do understand that our ancestors believed very strongly in that spiritual tradition, and that several hundred years went by in the creation of all of these great monuments to religion. But they weren't just a monument to religion. I grew up in basically with a very rare privilege, which I did not really understand at the time, of being able to walk alone in an old growth forest where there were massive trees, um, similar to the size that formed the roof of Notre Dame, which I did not realize until I read about the fire. And when you stand in a place like an old growth forest and you see these trees just hundreds of feet above you, forming this canopy, this enclosure, and then you walk into an ancient cathedral in Europe, as I did as a teenager and an adult, then I went, oh my gosh, this is what they were trying to do, to recreate that feeling of humility and connection to the world around us, by building these giant cathedrals. So it wasn't just a religion, it was our search for the divine, our search for connection. And we can make a choice on how we respond to that. I know some people said to me, well, monuments dissolve all the time. Yes, they do. The old stone monoliths on Easter Island are literally crumbling away from just the environment around them. And over time, we lose those ancient connections, and all we have are memories. And we need to keep those memories alive because they help us feel humility and they help us feel connection. So thanks for chiming in there. And so hello to all of you for chiming in. Pamela asks, how do you center yourself again after communicating with depleted souls? Oh, okay. Pamela, this is a wonderful question. So I was talking about how devastated I was at Notre Dame, and also connecting it to this ancient waterway here in the Seattle area where there had been so much change that the course of the waterway was actually changed. So the river literally left its banks and created a new river system. And And you're saying, how do you center yourself after communicating with depleted souls? Um, you're empathic and you feel the sorrow in wildlife and nature to the point of visceral pain. Well, first, Pamela, I understand very clearly the problem of people whose intuition runs towards feelings, which is what empathic actually means. And the first thing I would say is get grounded in balance. That is not as easy to do as it sounds. And in the early years of my work with the planet, where I was actively knowing that I was working with the planet, um, I had to find a way to work with an erupting volcano or an active earthquake or a weather system like a hurricane and not get swept up in the actual massive size of those beings. And my spiritual team literally helped me cut off my feeling of clairsentience or empathy, so that not that I couldn't understand the emotions, but that my energy wasn't connected to the energetic changes that were happening in those beings, because those beings were very large systems and the human body just isn't created to work with an erupting volcano on the empathic level. So you need to be able to pull back, create a good solid energy boundary around you, one that is pliable enough that you can reach out and connect with others and they can connect with you, but not so soft that it comes right into you and destabilizes you. So it is a question of balance, and it is a question of tuning. People who are empathic, and all of us can learn this exercise. You will see things that are wobbly and off balance, and your natural instinct as a loving person is to want to help them. But if we go in to fix them, all we do is become unbalanced. So instead, what we do is witness. You say, oh, I see you're having this issue. Can you find, and you need to find, a way where your energy remains stable and vibrate at a level where your energy remains stable. And so you can model it, but not step in and take it over for them and then get involved in it. So when I was working with Notre, and at first the soul was like, well, who are you to get involved with me? And I said, well, I'm just someone who understands what you're going through. Is there some way that I can support you? And be here to literally witness with you so that, you're here. And that was the response that the cathedral was looking for. Not someone to come in and take over what it was going through, but simply say, I'm here to witness. I'm here to support you. Is there something that I can do for you? And when it said, I am so tired, I have been so tired for so long, I can't do this anymore. Then my job as a medium who works with the dead was simply to say, I work with my dad. And well, then here's the place where you can go. And talk to it about its options, and just said, everyone loves you. They're standing in the streets of Paris singing, because I think they knew something bigger was going on than just that fire. And you can feel sorrow. It's okay to feel sorrow. But at the end of that, then we need to come back into ourselves and say, okay, I gave witness. And now I'm getting grounded and balanced. You use sea salt or crystals to help you do that. And the understanding that death is part of life, the journey continues, things change. There's not a lot we can do about everything else in the world, but do that thing of giving witness, of being love and sending love, and in that sense being part of the planet. But without really good, strong energy boundaries, you will get knocked off balance. And I deal a lot with grieving people in my work as a medium and an animal communicator, where people are saying goodbye. And so I'm very careful to make sure I keep myself clear. That's why I keep sea salt around, and to just take a deep breath at the end of that situation that I'm in a particular client case and say, I did my job here. I offered witness and support, and now I go back to my life. It's a balancing act, and I hope that helps you. And we are really getting to the end of the time here, so I want to thank you all for joining in. Irene, I wish I could see that picture. And let me just quickly tap into the crystal of the week. And I find crystals have been a big, huge support to me in getting and staying balanced. And of course, I have Fallon, right? So that's pretty awesome. But one crystal that is really good for witnessing change is Amazonite. And it's a bluish green, really a green crystal. And it helps filter things from geopathic stress to illnesses caused by oversensitivity. And so it helps filter information that you receive and combines intellect with intuition. And so that's another thing that will help us stay balanced. Our intuition gives us information. Our intellect helps filter it. Our emotions and our feelings help us understand and empathize and connect. But we always have to pull back and stay within our own bodies. Amazonite is also great for releasing grief, regardless of the time span that it occurred. So it helps you to bear witness to current and to past tragedies and to allow grief to move through us. So check it out. I don't have a piece of Amazonite to show you. Can't even probably pronounce that word correctly. But it's a pretty powerful crystal. So I want to thank you for joining me today and encourage you to find your own way to witness change in the world, a way that you can do that without becoming unbalanced for very long. I think anytime something really deeply affects us, someone near us who is ill, or a great tragedy that everyone has suffered, the people in the streets of Paris last week had it right. They sang. They probably didn't know that they were singing out a soul, allowing that soul to peacefully transition to the afterlife. And at some point, a new soul will come into that cathedral. But they were bearing witness. And as we bear witness, it's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to move forward in our connections. Because being human is a really tough job. Each of you matters in the world, and each of you took a body as your current incarnation of your eternal soul, and it is not easy being human. So find ways that remind you that it's okay to grieve, but we need to come out of that grief and to move forward in life, to continue to grow and to learn. I hope this helped you. I appreciate you joining me today. I also want to direct you to my website, robinfritz.com. I offer personal and business intuition, mediumship, animal communication, space clearing, past life and between life regression, and soul progression clearing, which helps clear out blocks and fill you up with healthy energy. Also, if you go to omtimes.com, their magazine, you can sign up for the digital magazine. It's like $2 a month. And the first of my monthly columns is there, Living Intuitively, The Key to Intuition, is out this week. It'll give you some tips on how to tap your intuition on a practical basis. But I want to thank you for joining me today. Hands on your heart. Breathe in that healthy energy, help you get grounded back into your body. With that connection to Fallon can make people dizzy. Thank you for joining me. Come back next week. We will talk about something new. If you have a question you'd like me to look at for next week, or a topic you're interested in, please connect with me at my Facebook page, The Practical Intuitive Robin M. Fritz. And if you like these broadcasts, please like that page, this page, Humanity Healing, all of the Om Times pages. and come back next week. Thank you. Take care.